You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Another day in the tropics, Force 13 live. We have Typhoon Goni, which has intensified substantially throughout the daylight hours in the western Pacific. It's now evening, and it's a typhoon with estimated winds of around 85 miles per hour and a pressure of 981 millibars. Update from the National Hurricane Center regarding Zeta, still down to a tropical storm. It, of course, made landfall as a Category 2 hurricane last night with winds of 110 miles per hour. It's moving inland into the mid-Atlantic region, 60 miles per hour and a pressure of 990 they're giving it at this time. Most of our stream today will be dedicated, this particular one will be on Goni because of timings really. It's still quite early over there in the US and we'll probably have coverage there later this evening, local time. Lots of time zones involved. But there is Goni. It's a pretty small system, but don't be fooled by that because it's intensifying rapidly right now. An eye starting to appear on the infrared, the microwave imagery looking very good as well, and this could be heading towards the Philippines on Saturday night into Sunday. Could be a major typhoon by the time it arrives. My name is Nathan Foy. To join me tonight to speak about this particular storm is Farhan and Ike. Let's talk to Ike first. You're in the Philippines and in the cone of this storm, actually. Are you there right now? Or have I got the wrong settings up? No, oh. Okay, we don't have Ike just at the moment. I'm not sure why that is just now. But Farhan, are you with us right now? Oh, there we go. We've got
opening,
everyone.
Perhaps wait.
Yeah, start again. Go ahead.
Yes, I am here. I am opening way too many Chrome tabs for the purpose of storm tracking, as you can see.
Yes, you're looking at the infrared view on the storm right now, and you can see big cloud tops blowing up, mostly all around the storm, and the eye feature starting to appear.
Yeah, it is starting to appear. It has been looking very good on microwave imagery for quite a while. And when a storm have an MW appearance that good, eventually at some point, sooner or later, the eye would start to pop out on the infrared. And this is, we are seeing the beginning of that currently.
Now, is this earlier than we were expecting? Because the JMA until just now, and I think, what are they going with? No, they've still got just a tropical storm at 50 miles per hour or so. They're way behind with regards updates on this storm, clearly. Would you agree that it, first of all, that it is a typhoon, yeah, and then has it gone much quicker, the intensification phase, than you expected?
Well, the answer to that is an absolute yes. From the onset when it first became an infest, of course, they are, as in with most storm, there is a lot of hype because the models have been hinting for a big, strong monster typhoon for a while in the Philippine Sea, but none of those in the last few months have materialized. So me personally, when I see what would eventually become Goni start to appear on the models, I was a bit skeptical. I think that it might be something that just gone poof in the next few runs, but I suppose that a trend like that could only happen for so long, and at some point one of those would eventually verify. And looks like Goni is very much on its way to becoming that storm.
Well, as is quite common, the models were flip-flopping when it was first developing. At one point, we were looking at barely a tropical storm or depression landfall in the Philippines, and now it looks like models are trending towards Category 3, maybe even more.
It is a very scary possibility. Now that we do have uh, concrete evidence in about the storm and not just simply hearsay from looking at a model run, I do can confidently say that this is a very concerning storm and one that everyone in the Philippines has to pay attention very closely. It is it has the potential to become a very significant storm, and we all know what happened when a significant typhoon make landfall in the Philippines.
Definitely. Do we have Ike right now? I'll keep trying. Ike, are you here?
Yes, I am
There
here.
we are. You're watching this storm from the Philippines, of course. Farhan's over there in Indonesia. From what I'm hearing, there'll be warnings that will be put out later tonight, about 11 p.m.
Yeah,
Do we know about the extent of those warnings?
the extent will be just information about typhoon and warning in the Philippines.
And they'll be naming that storm as well, PAGASA, the Philippine name.
Yeah, they will be naming it Raleigh.
Raleigh. I was wondering about the
Yeah.
pronunciation, whether it was Rolly or Rolly, but Rolly sounds more apt, to be honest. So we'll run with that, definitely. There's the latest satellite imagery from the Himawari 8 rapid scan, showing the convection there. Night has fallen over the storm, but still signs of intensification persist. But one of the best ways to look at it is on this particular satellite perspective, and you can see the yellows there really blowing up above minus 90 degree cloud tops, minus 80 degree cloud tops, getting towards minus 90 though. Very small. It wouldn't occupy a 10, or is that a 5 by 5 degree square. The central core of the storm, of course, even smaller, a small wind field, but of course the smaller typhoons, they can intensify much more quickly, and are much more unpredictable as well, aren't they?
Yeah,
That is certainly the nature of a compact storm like this. There's no doubt about it.
Actually, we're getting news from one of our contributors, Ryan Knack, who is on our tech side of this, saying that they're getting on microwave a 24 nautical mile eye. That's quite a large eye, really, for a smaller storm.
and the wind field will be big.
But models suggesting it will remain small all the way through. So do you think they're underestimating that then?
Slightly.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Let's see if we've got some questions. You can send them in live on our stream. We're here for the hour to discuss mainly Typhoon Goni, but if you've got any questions about Zeta as it continues through the mid-Atlantic US, we'll of course take questions on that as well. Also, another area of interest that the JMA have tagged as a depression behind Goni, so that is also something that we're watching out closely. Models suggesting that could be a super typhoon landfall in Luzon next week. And let's see what questions we have at this point. A pinhole eye, question marks. It doesn't sound like when it's that large.
Definitely.
No, and any speculation as to why the JMA are running so weak on this storm? Is it just that they haven't caught up? Because satellite imagery is quite convincing.
No idea. No idea at all. It's genuinely dumb that they just stick to 45, 50 knots when it's clearly not 45, 50 knots.
Okay, well, there you have it. Also, in the Atlantic, there is another area of interest in case you haven't had enough of the Atlantic hurricane season just yet. There is now a 60% chance, according to the National Hurricane Center, for that area of interest that's moving towards the Caribbean. 20% in the next 48 hours, 60% in 5 days. That could be our next tropical cyclone. If it gets named, it'll be the first time that we've ever got this far in a naming list. We'll now be on to the 7th Greek name, which will be Eta. So we'll see whether that happens. But if this system doesn't manage it, then models are suggesting that there'll be more next week. So it's just one of those years. I don't know what else I can say about it.
The conditions are favorable for an active November. So we could get very far in the Greek naming list, which is yes. I don't really want to say anything else other than it's ridiculous.
Considering that we are still 2 months ahead of 2005 at this stage, that's just ridiculous.
We'll definitely beat 1000.
Yes. So here's the wide shot of the Western Pacific. Again, you can see Goni, and you'll also see the much broader system southeast of Guam. It does have 2 bursts of convection there associated with it, and I'm not sure quite what's going on. We should get an ASCAT pass pretty soon as to whether it might have a circulation or not. We'll see. And if that comes in whilst we're on the air, we'll let you know any information that we get from that. But still, in relation to the wide Western Pacific, Goni's still quite a small system, but like most systems, slow growth will be occurring as it approaches land. Ike, we're also broadcasting on Force 13 Philippines today on the Facebook page. Search F13PH, F13PH for the latest on there. Our dedicated team all in the Philippines, providing the latest updates. Any comments or questions on there, Ike? I don't know if you're looking at it.
Hope it won't be copyright strike by Facebook because they thought we were using copyrighted music.
That was a while back. Yes, Facebook was very, very sensitive. I don't know. But yes, we are streaming on there as well. So, question there, will Atsani be a super typhoon? Well, first of all, it hasn't been named. But
Renaming galore. Oh boy.
But if it does get that name, that is the next one on the list. But we'll call it the next system for the time being, the JMA Tropical Depression. Looks like there's a good chance that it could be a super typhoon. Has Molave dissipated yet?
Probably.
Probably. Let's just check.
For all intents and purposes, it's only
Yeah.
thunderstorm system by this point.
Yeah, pretty much. What's left of Molave is a few thunderstorms blowing up over Cambodia, also into in southern Thailand mainly, and western Thailand, even over into Myanmar now at this point. But Vietnam and Laos have had pretty much all the rain that they're going to get.
It shouldn't be understated, though, that Molave is a devastating storm for both Philippines and Vietnam. Death toll from both countries has amounted to at least 40 confirmed, with many more injured, and even many more are reported as missing, with chances of them being found out dead ever so increasing as the hour continues on.
Yeah, that's not good. We're just gonna try this here. Just the latest JMA graphic. There it is. We got it now. So just for your information, that's what we've got right now. No Philippine warnings to show just yet because they haven't produced any. We're expecting that they will have some warnings up later this evening, but it won't be whilst we're on the air. So that will happen after we finish up, but I'm sure our teams will keep you posted on exactly what happens there. Is there a chance that Goni could nudge more southwards? Is there moderate confidence on models on a more north track than last time? By last time, I assume they mean since Molave.
Probably.
Well,
Well, I mean, if the cones from both GTWC and JM are turning northward, then I guess it might mean that confidence for a southward trajectory is lowering. I mean, it only makes sense.
well, yes, actually, it has trended further north. Earlier, we were looking at a landfall in southern Luzon. In fact, pretty much the exact same place that Molave made landfall. So, it's a relief that that's not happening just yet. But still, it's in the cone, and we're looking towards a central Luzon landfall at this point.
The good thing about a landfall there is that after it goes that the system is pretty much gonna be dead on the water. It's gonna be absolutely shredded to death by the mountains over there. It's not like Molave going into the southern Luzon into the Visayas region, where it's just tiny little pieces of land that allows it to maintain strength and even intensify as it goes through. But if a storm goes into northern Luzon, after landfall, it's pretty much dead. It wouldn't be able to organize again after being disrupted so much by the mountains there.
Well, it's looking better all the time on the satellite imagery here. We've got the infrared visible, obviously, is gone now. A night has fallen over the storm. A gap opening up there, whether that might be the ice starting to come out. It's getting there. And just for reference, distance from land right now, this storm has still got a way to go. It is 700 miles exactly from the eastern coast of Catanduanes, and it is 910 from the capital Manila. So this could still strengthen to significant major typhoon status. Probably won't get to the higher reaches, at least the top reaches of typhoon strength, but we'll see. More questions. Could the Western Pacific catch up to the Atlantic, or average storms for that basin? It could catch up to average. This is number 20? Is it 20 or 19?
I'm pretty sure it's number 20.
And the average in the Western Pacific season is 27, so it's going to get close. It's not going to beat the Atlantic, though, because the Atlantic's already at 27, so it's just ridiculous.
No, it won't.
I think that's just the third
It will,
time
unfortunately. Yes.
that the West Pacific won't reach the Atlantic's number.
The other two being 2005 and 2010.
Yes. Will the disturbance in the Caribbean form? Well, as I pointed out a moment ago, the National Hurricane Center upped that to 60%. So keep watching that one. That could be our next named storm for the Caribbean, the Central American coastline as well. Regarding another question there, could this take a track like Mancut and be as strong? This one won't, but the one behind it might. It really might. We're not sure yet, but that's something we're going to have to watch and figure out as the days go by here.
You're early to say.
Will Goni hit either Quezon or Aurora, Ike?
Probably can. No. Probably around.
Yep, most likely those areas will get typhoon conditions somewhere. Goni has somewhat more time over water, but do we think it will keep intensifying up until landfall or not? It will.
It will intensify until landfall. Definitely.
Well, the thing is, some models suggesting earlier that the path of the storm will take it just north of Catanduanes and southern peninsula there. And that could remove some of the intensity without the storm actually making landfall. So that could happen, but we expect it to intensify for at least the next 2.5 days. Um, question about the HPA, apparently.
High pressure area, the one over China and Taiwan, that has been consistently pushing storms down.
It has been doing that. I thought they were referring to the pressure, first of all, hectopascals. But yes, indeed, that is what's forcing all of these storms further south. Do you want to comment more on that, Farhan?
Well, there are rumblings in the Discord server that well, first of all, there was an argument over whether or not going north or south will be the best case scenario. The best case scenario being, of course, here about the storm structure, and really it comes down to what happened to the HPA. If it stays as it is right now, then a landfall in central to northern Luzon, like what the cones have been saying, will probably happen. If it strengthens, then it could possibly go down, possibly up to the Visayas region. It really does depend upon what happened to the storm itself and the condition around it in the next 24 hours or so. That, in my opinion, will be the determining factor on where and what will this storm be, Goni.
Do we think that Typhoon Goni could become similar to Typhoon Sarika of 2016? That one intensified very rapidly just before striking the Philippines out of pretty much nothing, really. What do we think about that? Do we remember that one?
No.
It's one.
No.
It's one that gets easy to forget, but I think it was a Category 4 landfall in the Philippines. It's in Haima's shadow, so
Well,
most
that
people remember
explains
that
it.
one. Yes,
That explains it.
I
yes.
don't will no.
We were there to cover it at the time. I can tell you that much. But apart from that, I think we're a bit blank on that now. It's been so long, especially after a year like this. Will Zeta hit the UK? Well, that's a little bit early to say. There's a chance, actually. Obviously, it'll be post-tropical, long gone as a tropical entity by then. I'll let you know in a couple of days. Do we think the Atlantic will be more active in November than October? That is actually possible.
That
Possible,
is.
but
And could we see Theta by the end of November? Yes, we could. It's
I'd say we
ridiculous.
could it.
It's ridiculous
I'd
to
say we
say.
could have Theta by mid-November, not end of
It's
November.
ridiculous to say, but it's not something that is outlandish.
If you have told me that we will get possibly up to Eta and Theta in November, I would call you crazy, but here we are. Absolutely
That's
mad.
that's 2 names away, isn't it? Theta.
Yeah, but at this point, it's very much a guarantee that we would reach it. Like, how does a
So
November with a favorable setup will only have 2 storms?
so wait, no,
No, that's not gonna happen.
I'm just thinking about this. That could actually happen by next weekend.
oh my god.
Yes, it is. That
It
that
really
is actually
could.
possible also.
It's just ridiculous.
Oh, I'm cringing
Exasperatingly.
at the thought.
Yes, certainly. Do we think the Atlantic could get to 6 or 7 majors if you count Zeta being 5 already? Well, that of course is a contentious point. Very borderline major hurricane. Okay, let's make that assumption that Zeta is number 5. Do you think there'll be 1 or 2 more? There could be 1 more. Well, I don't know. Stranger things have
I
happened.
mean, it has happened in the past. There's no reason why we should rule out the same thing happening in this crazy old season.
And do we think that Goni will be like Angela in 1995? Philippine name Rosing, of course, back then.
Ooh,
Very powerful
yeah.
storm.
Ooh, that rings a very certain bell in many people's mind.
Goni's not going to do that, but I would watch out. The system behind that, at worst case, could be comparable to Angela. We don't know just yet. I'd also like to point out that on the 2nd of November, I believe, we will have a storm the individual track animation of Angela on the anniversary. So that's something to look forward to as well. Could the Atlantic area of interest become a major hurricane? So the current one out there right now. Probabilities definitely say no at the moment, but it is the Atlantic. And on the subject of intensification, I noticed earlier, Farhan, you were showing us intensification probabilities for Goni.
Yes, indeed. Let me just put it up again. This is from 06Z. I'm not sure if the 12Z has come out yet, but as you can see here, it's extremely concerning. All above 60%. All above 60%.
And you're seeing there 94.8% chance of a 40 knot increase in 24 hours. That would bring it to high-end category 3.
Yeah, it's
94%.
It's terrifying to see such a high percentage. I usually expect it to be 30, 40, maybe 50%. Certainly you don't expect it to be 94%.
And that 55 knot increase in 36 hours, that's 81%. So that would bring the storm up to, again, I'm trying to think through this, at least mid-range category 4. And they're pretty damn sure on that as well.
I mean, the lowest number that is on here is 30%, which even then, that's usually a pretty high number for these percentages.
And then a 38% chance there on the consensus of a 70 knot increase in 48 hours. That's more than a 1 in 3 chance of this storm being a category 5, probably. Nearly a category 5. Super typhoon.
Let's just hope for the Philippines' sake that that's not gonna happen. Just, oh.
38% chance of a super
numbers.
typhoon in 2 days, wow.
This will be very interesting.
Looking at the typhoon right now, the very latest satellite imagery, and a new frame has just come in on the rapid scan. Looks like an eye is opening up, although it looks like it might be open on the southwestern side. It briefly had what I call the Pac-Man appearance, where usually there's a gap in one part of the eye wall, and the rest of it's really blown up. Just starting to open up very slightly towards the center of the typhoon. It suggests to me that at least at the mid and higher levels that there's an open eye wall, but I think progress is still being made. You can just see on that imagery there some greens starting to appear in the center of the storm. That's temperatures into the -60s as opposed to -70s. The higher the temperature inside the eye, the further down typically you can see towards the surface, and that obviously is a big indicator on the eye's structure.
The sun will rise on a very different system tomorrow. I will tell you that much. Perhaps it only had a very well-defined eye by then.
The GFS parallel shows a 9:55 millibar storm at landfall, according to one comment there. I don't know if they're talking about Goni or another storm.
I believe actually that's for the Atlantic area of interest.
No.
I was seeing some of the models that were posted in the Discord server, and I believe one of them take it to a 956 millibar.
Oh my.
Let me just confirm this, if I can.
Yeah.
And because that would just be insane if that's. Yep, there is a hurricane there in the Caribbean Sea. In the next. Oh, yep, there it goes. 956 millibars on approach to Nicaragua on day 6.
Oh my goodness.
So that system could become a major hurricane. I say could. That's a percentage anywhere from 1 to 99, but it could do that. Oh dear. There's another problem for the Atlantic next week.
Well, just because it could doesn't mean it would.
It's probably going to become at least a tropical storm, and tropical storms even can be big rainmakers over there in Central America, so definitely look out for that. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Start your message with Force 13 if you've got any comments or questions for us on the air. Our main topic right now is Typhoon Goni, which is rapidly intensifying in the Philippine Sea. We are probably going to go live again in about 12 hours to cover the aftermath of Zeta, along with further developments on Goni. But for the time being, we're mainly talking about Goni. Zeta made landfall last night, if you missed it, as a high-end Category 2 with winds of 110 miles per hour. Some speculation that it could have been a Category 3 at landfall, nonetheless very powerful. Huge damage in the areas that were near the landfall zone, buildings that were literally being ripped apart. Lots of structural damage and tree damage in New Orleans as well. I've not seen too much about the flooding in New Orleans, but in Mississippi the storm surge looked to have been quite serious there as well.
Actually, speaking about New Orleans, that reminds me of a tweet that I'm just gonna try to get up on my screen, saying that Zeta is actually the strongest tropical cyclone whose center have gone directly over New Orleans. I have the picture up here on my screen. If you could show it, Nathan.
Yeah, we've got
there
that.
It is. Here it is. You could see Zeta. The only one that is not colored blue or green. That is over the center of New Orleans.
Obviously denoting a Category 2 passage there, which indeed it was. It did maintain its intensity quite well at first, didn't it? Well, it still is. It's 60 miles per hour.
It's 60 miles an hour that far inland. That should tell you.
But that is aided in part by its very fast forward motion.
That is true. That is true.
Fury Inferno asks, chances of the Atlantic area of interest heading to the Gulf? Please no. My intuition so far would suggest not, even compared to Zeta's early models. That took it into Cuba all the time. At least this one is taking it further south still, so fingers crossed it won't be yet another Gulf storm.
Hopefully.
Do you think there'll be another basin in the future? Could the South Atlantic or Mediterranean become a basin in the next couple of decades? Well, it is a basin by the definition of that term, but you mean a cyclonically active basin, I suppose. Well, I think maybe it is time that... The problem with the South Atlantic at the moment, they've had potentially 2 subtropical cyclones in the last week. The first one, Manny, that they named from Brazil, definitely shouldn't have been. The second one might have been. But we really need oversight on this because the World Meteorological Organization don't watch the South Atlantic. They haven't designated anywhere as officials down there, and nor have they in the Mediterranean Sea either, so there's going to be a lot of confusion and conflicting information until they decide they're going to designate some official places there. And I think they may as well do it. So again, we're looking at the latest satellite imagery of Typhoon Goni. Let's see if we can hop on the rapid scan once again and see how it's looking now. Whether the eye is starting to become a little bit better distinguishable there. Well, you can see that area coming in. Yes, it's just starting to appear just a little bit more. Very curious shape on it right now. It's sort of got a bulge on the northern inner side of the eye. Part of the convection blow up.
Minus 90 concentration is in that northern bulge. That's where the -90 clouds are at.
Let's see. I don't think we're quite getting -90. We're getting minus 80 something.
Well, it's close. That's something for sure.
It won't tell me the actual number, unfortunately, but yeah, 80 something. So it's looking good though, definitely, and still an intensification phase, you would agree.
Hmm.
Yeah.
ASCAT won't get to the storm in time on our live stream, unfortunately. So we won't be able to see what's going on with the other area of interest in the Western Pacific. Let's go back to our wide shot again. That's the Atlantic, but moving to the Western Pacific, you can see again Goni, a rather small system in comparison to most typhoons, or many typhoons, but it will grow. And to the southeast there, a much broader system and much less developed system that the JMA have designated as a tropical depression. That's southeast of Guam, and models suggesting that that could become a big one on day 4 through to about day 7 or 8, and potentially a super typhoon, which we really haven't had many of this year so far.
There's only one.
Only one. Good news, of course, but it does make you wonder, is there going to be a big ending to this season? And sometimes they go that way, and sometimes you get trains of storms that go through the Philippines in the later part of the season. I was doing very old typhoon research. I'm sure there's recent examples, but years like 1908 and 1915, in one of those seasons, 10 typhoons struck the Philippines between September and December. It's just extraordinary. Hopefully we won't get 10, but how many have done so now, Ike? They've not all been typhoon strength, but you had, I'm forgetting them already. Before Molave, there was a weaker one that moved through.
I believe the only one for Molave is Hong Kong, all the way back in May.
Well, that was that was the category 3. But a lot of systems move. Well, no, actually, I think the one before Molave was developed in the South China Sea, but it went through the Philippines first, didn't it? Yeah. A few systems have done that this year.
Most have been weak before when they struck the Philippines. Perhaps that's changing now with the storm system getting stronger and stronger in the open West Pacific.
More questions then. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. We're here for another 20 minutes taking comments. Is there a chance it will pour rains on southern Luzon like Ketsana? Well, I sincerely hope it won't be as bad as that. That was actually the first big storm that I tracked in the Western Pacific, personally, in my tracking time. I believe
2009 was it?
Yes.
7 years ago.
I believe we're now joined by Paul as well, who has
Yes, good evening everyone.
been dropping in on a few of our streams recently, a member of Team Philippines on Force 13 as well, in Cebu. What do you make of the storm right now, and how are people preparing for it?
As of right now, I am actually searching right now for pictures regarding people and local government units preparing for the storm, and as of now, nothing. But maybe in the following days, when PAGASA might already declare some places under TCWS signal, maybe we'll see some preparations.
I've heard that will be happening tonight. Is that true?
Maybe I haven't received the word, but maybe.
I think from what I heard earlier, the PAGASA might be doing it at the 11 p.m. update, which will be their first one since it entered.
Oh yes,
the
yeah.
Philippine area.
Correction. It is 11 a.m.
11 a.m.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, that's
Wait, let me
curious.
That's quite a long time to wait for your first advisory.
Well, they have, of course, done advisories, but be
Well, I
surprised with a
mean,
gap like that.
advisory as advisory as in storm, it's actually in their AUR. Of course, they have issue
No, you're
advisory, but it is
no,
outside.
you're right. It is going to be 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, so there's not going to be much to talk about until our next stream in 12 hours' time. Well, even then, it's going to be too soon, um, but well, I think we'll still have a lot to talk about anyway. The storm is
Well,
intensifying rapidly.
I apologize. I apologize. It's actually 11 p.m.
It is. I just saw
Yeah.
something that said 11 a.m. What's
Oh,
going on?
wait, in the PAGASA page, like their official page, it actually says 11 a.m.
It does.
Yeah, unless
And
if information is different in their Facebook page, which I am taking a look right now.
So a lot of confusion there right now. If it comes out, we'll let you know. Um, let's take some
Oh
more.
wait, it actually says 11 p.m. in the Facebook page,
Aye,
but in
aye.
their website it says 11 a.m.
So there's your discrepancy. I think it's going to be 11 p.m. I don't think they'll want to wait on it.
Okay, 11 p.m.
Discrepancy
So
101.
Definitely. More questions. There's been a lot that have come in just now before that confusion. Does this system have a chance in the South China Sea?
Well, the word is that the South China Sea is starting to becoming unfavorable after so many storms have gone through it, which is definitely good news for Vietnam.
It could still be a
yeah,
tropical storm by the time it gets there.
hopefully not.
Have we seen the latest HWRF run, and does it have any chance to be correct? I don't know if I have seen the most recent one, but I know they've been going for strong Category 4 actually, aren't they saying that right now? As far as I know.
Last I check, the run calls for uh nine well for Goni, I believe they call for a 940s, 930s, and then for the system behind that, the potential next system, the lowest pressure was a 928.
That next system, yes. That could be Super Typhoon strength. What did we think about the Atlantic kicking off, the South Atlantic kicking off the Southern Hemisphere cyclone seasons? Oh dear. Well,
And
to
the
quote,
2020.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
to quote one of our most prominent people, David, it does happen. But I don't know. But there is an argument that none of those actually qualified, but we'll see. We'll have to do some reanalysis on that at some point when we get a break.
2020 will be pretty much complete.
Do we think that Zeta was a Category 3? Will it be upgraded in a post-season analysis? Let's just get some opinion from our team here. There's 3 of us, so who thinks that it was a Category 3 in the end?
Borderline.
Sitting on
There
the fence.
is evidence. There is evidence. Some people are saying that the ground observations are reliable and could be used as a strong basis for a Category 3. But, of course, the official word will still be 110 miles an hour until the TCR came out sometime next year.
Obviously appreciate that we're tracking 2 things at the same time. There's the latest on Zeta, the imagery there as it's been pushing through the United States overnight, and we're just about to get into the morning hours there. The storm center would appear to be just moving into North Carolina now. We'll take questions on both systems for the remainder here. Do we think that Zeta might have been even stronger than expected, because some radar imagery said near 140 mile an hour winds and recon found Category 4 flight level winds at one point? Well, the thing is with both of those is that it was at height, so that doesn't constitute much.
You need to adjust it to the surface for both of those. And if you do, the results will be quite a bit lower.
The next storm after Goni, could it be the strongest storm in the world in 2020? It could, but that's a kind of pie in the sky question that we couldn't possibly tell you a definitive answer. And now I've lost track of what we're up to in the comments section. We'll try not to miss anyone out. Yes, there we are. Can a Greek tropical storm name be retired? According to the World Meteorological Organization, yes, but it's a bit weird, to put it one way. They'll retire it, and they'll make a note that that storm was retired in that season, but they'll still use the name again if it has to be used in the future.
Hopefully not.
They need a better system.
I'd say just adopt the system that the Bureau of Meteorology of Australia has been using for years now,
Well, yeah, there
which
is
is a
that.
rolling naming list. That is probably the best solution.
But as far as I saw, I think there was a poll not long ago on with us that said that most people wouldn't support that change.
I guess to each their own.
Nonetheless, I think the best way to go, if they're listening right now, would be to name the Greek letters, name them after National Hurricane Center employees.
Nathan,
Oh, why not?
have you seen GTWC?
What are they up to right now?
They have already upgraded Goni into a Typhoon.
Yeah, that was the lead that we
Yeah.
had at the top of the
Oh, yeah.
hour.
Okay, there.
But hopefully we'll get a new indication from the automated ATCF system as to whether the storm will be getting any stronger on the next JTWC update. I don't know if that will come in before we finish here, but if it does, I'll have that for you. The update on Zeta has come out on the ATCF. They're going with 50 miles per hour and a pressure of 990. That's not confirmed officially yet, but they're thinking it's gone down. Wouldn't be a surprise. We're expecting the information on Goni sometime soon. More questions then. What about the area with 20% probability of cyclonic development in the Caribbean? I know that people are coming in and out all the time, so as we've mentioned before, we made the bombshell discovery that the GFS parallel wants this to become a major hurricane probably next week. So watch out for that. Whether it will or not remains to be seen. Still, the probability is no, but it's the Atlantic and you can't be sure.
Nathan, I have news. Ascot has come just in time for the system that is below Goni. I have it on my screen right now.
Oh, excellent. Let's see what they've found.
Half closed, half
It
off.
is half close.
Half closed.
So it's not quite a tropical cyclone yet.
Well, that's interesting with the JMA going with tropical depression, so they've sort of jumped the gun with that one and they've gone so slow with the other one.
It's quite typical of them, to be honest.
We can't see the full quality of that image there. Can you tell me whether there's tropical storm force winds in that?
No. I see 30 knots. I see several 30 knots, but no, there is no brown, what do you call it, barbs? There is
Yeah.
no brown barbs, which usually would indicate a tropical storm now. They are all red, and red indicates 30 knots. So no, it does
So-
not have tropical storm winds.
Just shy of having gale force winds and not yet closed. Is there a chance it will weaken before landfall like Hagapit? I love how people wheel out all of the bigger names when they use their comparisons. Well, it's not going to get to Hagapit's intensity, at least we hope not, in the first place, but it could weaken a little bit before landfall, but I'm not expecting that much.
When you actually look at the satellite image for Raleigh, it's actually a very compact storm, like very tiny.
It certainly is. We expect it will grow at least a little bit before it reaches the islands, but for the time being it is rather small, but that also makes it a big chance for rapid intensification, as we saw just earlier, with that 94% chance that this will be, what was it now? I can't remember the actual figure, but still a
I could pull it up
38%
again.
38% chance that this will be a super typhoon in 2 days.
The 38% chance was for 70 knots in 48 hours.
Yeah, that's the only one I can remember. There it is again. So 94.8% chance of a 40 knot increase in 24 hours. That would take it to high-end category 3. When was that issued, by the way?
60. I believe it was either 060 or 09Z. It's around that time. It's a bit old, I suppose, now.
Just a little bit, okay. Alright.
But I don't think this well Z1 has come out for now, just yet.
Sure thing. Does the northeast monsoon have something to do with the track of Goni? Question there. Anyone on that?
I'm not exactly familiar with the monsoons up there, so I cannot answer that, unfortunately.
I'm not seeing much of one. It's mainly the high pressure that's going to dictate the storm's motion.
There's actually a question. What is the CPDS stage for Goni and the system behind it?
Good question. The CDPS on Goni, I don't know. Is the answer.
It hasn't been calculated that.
The cyclone destruction potential scale, for those who haven't heard of it yet, hasn't been calculated because we do it. It's one of our members' inventions, Devon, and I would suspect that it's probably stage 4, maybe 5 for the Philippines, and if it does strengthen more than that, then it could go higher. We could be looking at significant damage. The one behind it, I think it's still too early to say what it would be on the CDPS scale, but if it's going to be anything like what some of the models are showing, you could be looking at stage 8 or higher. Could be.
That is a big maybe at this point.
Absolutely is. But as it stands right now, there's nothing on that.
I mean, its circulation is not even close, so we can't really say much about it right now.
What do we think of the new area of interest in the Western Pacific, Invest 91W over the Marshall Islands? Yes, so we've got Goni there, we've got that other system behind it that we've just found only has half of the circulation. And now if we pan further east, you can see over the Marshall Islands another area of interest that has formed. That's Invest 91W, and that could also develop into a tropical cyclone. Models aren't keen on it just yet, so my best suggestion right now is that it will be a weak tropical cyclone, but in terms of track, it looks like it could be another one for Luzon.
Lots of storms really heading at Luzon right now.
Well, it's the hotspot for storm season.
Yeah, as I point out every so often, the coast off the waters off the eastern coast of Luzon there and Isabela province in particular, I think, is the hotspot of the world. It is statistically the world's most busiest place for tropical cyclones.
2018 was the worst year for the northern Luzon. 2018 and 2016.
Yeah, fairly bad years there. Do we think that Goni will be a category 3 in our next stream, since it seems like the rapid intensification trend will continue? It definitely could be.
When will be our next stream again? Tomorrow 8 a.m.?
Yep, I think we've locked that in now. We'll be live again 8 a.m. tomorrow Philippine time. That would be, I think that's still 8 p.m. on the US East Coast?
Yeah.
Yep, 8 p.m. on the US East Coast for those wanting to know more about Zeta. We'll be covering its aftermath there as well. And of course the next area in the Atlantic, which is just getting on a rampage right now. We only need 4 more tropical cyclones in the Western Pacific to make it to the next naming list. Do you think we'll make it this year?
It's very possible, especially with what some of the long-range model has been suggesting, and with all of those untapped energy in the Philippine Sea.
I'm
It's
gonna
definitely possible.
I'm gonna make a guess for yes on that, or maybe it will. The last name will be used at the end of the season, because you've got potentially probably 2 more tropical cyclones, and then longer range models are actually no, we could get more than 4 longer range models, very long range, suggesting that there could be 2 more, another pairing in mid-November. So there's your 4. Will the East Pacific disturbance be anything significant? Well, yes, we may as well point that out before we finish up. There is an area of interest in the Eastern Pacific. I don't think you can see it on this graphic just yet. It will come in from the right-hand side, but it's got an increasing chance of becoming a tropical storm and maybe a hurricane. It does appear at this point that it's going to remain out at sea. The ultra-long-range models last week were suggesting that it could be a big landfall for the coast of Mexico. Those chances appear to be fading, thankfully, but it's something to keep watch on. Maybe the West Pacific will just try and have a final go at making something out of this season. Of course, even the Eastern Pacific has had talking points this year, the main one being Hurricane Douglas, which struck Hawaii. That feels like an eternity ago, even though it was only 3 months?
Oh, good.
3 months ago. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We'll see what the East Pacific could end up in this. Perhaps this is the last hurrah, maybe? Maybe not,
It
we'll
probably will be for this year.
It still has 2 months. Still has 2 months.
No, well, okay, there's 2 parts to this. The first part is that some years have actually ended in October. The second part is dead seasons, La Nina seasons. Like 2010, for instance, had Omika in the Central Pacific in December. So chances of something like that could be raised in the Central Pacific late season.
Possible.
Indeed, actually, if we just go back to the Eastern Pacific there, there is...
Ooh,
Go
we
ahead.
have 23W.
Sorry?
We have 23W.
23W.
Yes.
So the Joint Typhoon Warning Center have gone along with the JMA's tropical depression, is that right?
Yeah.
Huh. That is intriguing.
Are you sure? I'm not seeing it here.
The,
What?
in the live discussion room.
I could pull it up here, the image, if you want. This is a screenshot from the
Oh,
NRL
yes.
side.
Yes, they have just initiated
No.
that right now by the looks of it. Okay, so that looks like Tropical Depression 23W, according to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. They'll be doing an update in about 2 hours to certify that. Nonetheless, just wanted to point out the Eastern Pacific. You know, there's a low pressure system there north of the Hawaiian Islands, and if that had gone a little bit further south, that could well have been a subtropical cyclone. It won't be. It's going to remain non-tropical, that one, but just goes to show fine margins, and there could be one other system that gets closer than that. And pardon to Ike there. Will the Eastern Pacific reach the S-name storm? My guess, and a pretty confident
No.
guess for no on that. But there we go. Any longer range models hinting anything for the southern hemisphere? There is a small chance, actually an increasing chance, that a non-tropical low could become a subtropical cyclone in the southwest Indian Ocean in just a couple of days. Could happen. We've got a 30% chance on that. Please don't.
Please don't. Boy.
So, a reminder of the news as we finish up here, and thanks to my team for taking part once again. We'll be back with more coverage at 8 a.m. Philippine time tomorrow morning, Friday, local time there. That would be Thursday evening at 8 p.m. On the US East Coast. But just to reiterate, Zeta is weakening slightly, probably going to be down to 50 miles per hour soon. National Hurricane Center will update in 2 hours. That made landfall as a Category 2 last night with winds of 110 miles per hour. Goni is rapidly intensifying, at least the mid-range Category 1 at this point. And also we've now got Tropical Depression 23W, which is to the southeast of Guam, and Invest 91W that's over the Marshall Islands, in what is turning out to be an increasingly busy end to the Western Pacific hurricane typhoon season as well. And in the Atlantic, the potential for another hurricane next week now, starting to emerge with moderate chances on the area of interest that's in the Caribbean Sea. We've got a lot more to this year yet. It's not ending anytime soon. Thanks to my team for taking part. My name is Nathan Foy, and we'll be back again a little bit later when we catch our breath. Good night for now.